everyone, welcome back to another episode of Inside the NAL, the weekly recap show where we bring you all the action that you hopefully didn't miss during this last week of competitive Rainbow Six broadcasts. But I know you're busy, you have other stuff going on in your life, so that's what we're here for. My name is Jess Brohard, and I could not bring you all this action alone. I'm so excited to introduce three of my best friends in the world. I am, in fact, stoked to introduce these people. Yes, my best friends in the world. In fact, you might say I'm very excited to do so. And, shoot, I just blew it.
Oh,
Velly
no.
Stokes blew. How are you guys doing? No! Don't no me!
Get her out of here, yo. That was so good, Jess.
I love
You
it.
didn't
That was
like
so
that?
good. Pun factor needs to be turned down by like 20% maybe.
What, is it too late for you?
It might be. I don't know.
Well, we have a ton of action to go over. You know, we're going to be talking about the Challengers Division, the Canadian Division, and the U.S. Division of matches. A lot has happened over this last week. Let's jump right in with the Challengers Division. So last week we did see the Canadian Challenger Division of play. We saw, who did we see? We saw Honor versus Oblivion. So, Blue, I'm going to ask you this one. What did you like about this matchup? We did see Honor take a 2-0 over Oblivion. What did Honor do that you really liked?
Yeah, ultimately, Honor bringing a lot of really great individual performances to the table, especially on the second map that they played on Coastline. You had two players, Pox and Wolfsies, that were really able to shine out ahead of the competition with 16 frags in Wolfie's case coming up to the end of the match there. The game even ended at the final round of regulation too, so they got a good spread of rounds out there, and those two players' performances really tried to push them over the edge and allowed them, I think, to take some great control on map number 2 and ultimately close the series out in their favor.
Yeah, and Honor had a little bit of a slow start on the first half of that first map, and then they did bring it around in the second half. They really kind of came to life. We actually have a clip to show you folks at home. This is going to be the match point for map 1, so take a look.
Oh, it's an even man count. Thanks to that. And the attic pressure is significantly alleviated, but suddenly Honor is coming alive, picking up 2 kills on their entry. It's just Baka and Frosty. The 2 German operators. They could definitely make some magic happen here. C4 will miss, though, for the most part, putting all the pressure on Baka as Frosty gets picked off. Envision pushing into the site, no problem. Sledge will go down, but there's one from the site door. No reload for the Bandit. That was an opportunity for Envision to kill the Bandit, but he didn't commit. The Repel will cut off the cross, and Envision gets the final kill. Honor will take the round and the map. We will move on.
Well, that wasn't the vibe I was getting halfway through the map, and obviously that's why we play 2 sides. Because honestly, I felt like Oblivion was really a team that had hit their stride. They were only beginning to get better as the first half moved on, but Honor just muscled them out, and it was a 4-2.
I just love Kix's little punchy thing that he's doing there. I don't know if he's expressing something, but after that, Honor did go on to take map 2 as well and the series. So, like I said, that was the Canadian Challengers bracket. The Canadian Challengers division. Let's take a look at the bracket. I believe we have the U.S. Challengers bracket for you here. Because that is the matches that we're going to be looking at again for next week. I'm sorry, we have the Canadian Challengers bracket for you. Just to kind of recap what we've been looking at so far and how these teams have been playing. There we have Honor sitting there at the top. Blue, do you have anything noteworthy you'd like to point out about this bracket here?
Not too much to talk about here. Like I said, this is a lot of new competition stepping up to the table. Some of these guys actually managing to make their way through into CL relatively scot-free for the most part. They were going through the qualifiers without much competition. So we're starting to see like the new mold, I guess you could say, starting to be formed a little bit here. And this is a good first look at some of the top contenders that we may be looking at starting to challenge for slots in the actual, Canadian Pro Division coming up when the relegations wrap around.
Yeah, so it was great to peek into the Canadian Challengers bracket. I know we often are looking at the U.S. Challengers matches, so let's go ahead and talk about those, the U.S. Challengers division some more. We've seen these matches. It's a fantastic pathway to pro, and we're going to be looking at some more U.S. Challengers this week. We're going to be seeing the finals with Rent Free versus The Last Dance, so that should definitely be a good matchup. I know, was that Veli I heard saying, oh?
Yeah, this is what we've been talking about the last few weeks, seeing these top teams finally face off for something way bigger now. Like, it's great.
It is. Anything else to add from Blue or Stokes?
I think this is going to be a lot of fun just to watch. I mean, obviously the Challenger Final is going to be in a couple of days. Actually, July 24th, so make sure you guys mark that. That's definitely going to be a series you're going to want to watch between Rent Free and Last Dance. But if I had to put a beat on it, I'd definitely say in at least that matchup, I think that Last Dance is going to edge out Rent Free. But again, that might be a spicy take. We'll have to see how the match goes.
And Stokes, I know you had a few other predictions we were casually talking about just a little bit before. What are you thinking for PogChamp Joe, Oblivion versus Favelas, and Spiker versus Beast Coast? Quick predictions.
So I'm thinking PogChamp over Joe Esports, Favelas over Oblivion, and Beast Coast over Spiker.
Love it. Good calls, I think. Anyone care to challenge those, or are you in agreement with Stokes?
No, I agree with Stokes.
All right, well, that just about wraps up, I think, for the U.S. Challengers Division. All right, gentlemen, is it time to go ahead and talk about Canada?
I suppose it is.
I suppose it is as well. So last Friday's matchup, we did see Altiora versus Mirage. Mirage, very, very talented team. They did take the series 2-1. Thoughts on that matchup?
Honestly, Mirage played extremely well. As much as, I love to put Flynn's name in my mouth and talk crap about him, they performed very, very well. And you can even see that looking through these statistics. Specifically, the one that is a huge outlier for me is the plants. The objective play for Mirage was just better. They ended up having 5 plants in comparison to Altiora's 2, as well as shutting down 3 of the Altiora players. It definitely seemed like Mirage was in the driver's seat for most of the game.
And off of this, they will be heading to the NA Qualifier. They're going to be playing versus Dark Zero. We'll get to that a little bit later, but we do also have a clip for you. So this is going to be the match point of map 3, where we see Altiora just absolutely crumble. It is not pretty to watch, but here, go ahead and watch it.
So early pick for Mirage, and that's the pulse of all operators. That's your primary information op in this scenario, gone. And now you won't have much information to play off of if you're Altiora. With 45 seconds left, that's okay. And Shima also being eliminated, that's not boding well for your overall chances in the match. There's a third for Mirage as Zilchi gets Spirits, who's peeking in Cocktail. This looks all but unwinnable now for Altiora.
They haven't given up, but it certainly just looks like Altiora have. They're just feeding themselves. At this point, they had the intel on Zilchi. They aren't able to do anything with it. They're just walking into their death. A very exposed Flynn is going for the plant, but the UMP's only good enough for 1. That's the game! Mirage takes the series 2-1, and with it, they will finish first in the Canada division through this stretch. And because of that, they'll be playing in the NA qualifiers. And as Court said, you don't get to see it on your screen, but it said, that's all about the charm. Thank you, Kix.
Well, there we go. Mirage playing very, very strong there. Gents, how many dream claps would you guys give that?
Ooh. Infinite amount. Give it 3 dream claps, okay? That's it. You know why? Flynn. We love... Okay, there it goes.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
honestly, Flynn was a colleague of ours. He took it to the pro gaming route. And seeing him succeed is just beautiful. I love the guy. I hope he goes far in his online qualifier for the major. I want to see Flynn do well.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we have the actual emoji claps up there. Thank you, Stokes, for that idea. Just to clarify for those watching at home, Dream does this amazing, he just has the best reactions. He's so sweet, and he does this the Dream clap, as we've now come to call it. So, of course, we're going to be memeing that and using that in some of our reactions. But I'm sorry, Stokes, I think I cut you off.
Oh, you're fine, Jess. Don't worry about it. All I was going to say was a point that Veli was making was... a very big deal for me as well. I used to cast with Flynn, as everybody knows, so it's really cool seeing a longtime friend find success inside of competitive play. It's a super cool thing to watch. And another thing I got to give him a tip of the cap towards is every single time they go to his camera, he's the most nonchalant man on the planet. Whether it be a positive thing or a negative thing, Flynn's locked in. He just wants to win the game, and I have the utmost respect for that.
You know what? At the end of the day, when he wins, we're going to cheer for him. If he gets clapped on Saturday in the qualifiers, we'll make fun of him. But at the end of the day, he has our support no matter what.
If he gets dream clapped?
Yes, if he gets dream clapped,
Maybe.
yes.
Well, let's take a look at the bracket for the Canada division so we can just kind of soak it in and see how well Mirage has been playing and how far they've come here.
Wow.
And I mean,
Wow.
we can see it here. I mean, like Altiora as well, putting up a pretty good effort throughout the season. Ultimately falling really short just in this one final matchup. Well, I guess it's not final because they still have to play one more versus Nordic as well. But just to go back on point here, just fell a little bit short due to like some individual performances not being there in the matchup. Like Missio, Sisma, and Spirits unfortunately didn't bring the best fragging power to the table in that matchup compared to what we may have seen in some of the previous week's action. So hopefully they're going to be a little bit more prepped against Nordic there, but a very close shave ultimately.
And of course, on Saturday, like we've been saying, Mirage are going to the NA qualifiers where they will face Dark Zero. What are your predictions? What do we think Mirage is going to do there?
Lose.
I'll say it.
That's real tough. That's real tough. And just to give you a quick, apples to oranges comparison, if I can, the main reason that I think that Veli's leaning on that is because this man exists. I don't know if you guys have heard of him at all. He's not that good. His name's Hyper. It's almost like he kind of kills everything or something like that. So the only saving grace is I think they just have to unchain the other chaser not loading from whatever basement they put him in and have him drop 20 kills again. That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's the only option.
I think to make it sound a little nicer, I think it's going to be a good learning experience for Mirage, would probably be my prediction for it, is that it's going to be a good way for them to jump in, kind of gauge themselves against a team like Dark Zero. I absolutely do not, in any way, shape, or form, expect them to win that match. I'm very clear about that.
You know how they say if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room? So maybe it's the same thing. If you're the best Rainbow Six team in a league, you're in the wrong league, and it's time to take it somewhere else.
Yes.
So it definitely will be a learning experience. So that's all happening Saturday. Friday's matchup is going to be Altiora versus Nordic, and they are playing for seeding for stage 2. So, gents, should we talk about the US division?
I believe we shall.
Of course. You always seem the most excited to talk about the US division. It's where we have the most matches. We just came off of what an insane week. So let's first, before we get into the craziness that happened on Wednesday, let's talk about Monday's matchup. The lower bracket, we had Disrupt versus Sonics. Sonics took that in a 2-0 fashion, and SSG versus Oxygen. SSG also took that in a 2-0 fashion. Now, first, Disrupt versus Sonics was kind of a blowout. I know, NJR was kind of going nuts, but it just wasn't enough. Talk to me about this crazy match.
Well, it wasn't even that NJR was necessarily going off. He actually had a pretty rough start to the very first map. Only really awakened himself on the last 3 to 4 rounds of map number 1. And to be fair, we did see that continue into map number 2, but there was a lot of other issues getting in the way of Disrupt's performance in that matchup as well, including one really big one, which obviously we'll talk about this in a little bit here. But yeah, ultimately, I think that factor combined with a few other things just made it too much of a task to try and overcome tempo on that second map, and it kind of just fell apart in the last few rounds, it seemed like.
Yeah, I think that in tandem with how well the Sonics played, because you can't just, chalk it up to, well, simply Disrupt did bad. No, the Sonics played really well. Specifically, Super, out of everyone, played extremely well. And, for his position and the operators that he plays, that's not usually what you're used to seeing. He tends to die very often because of those ops and what he has to do for his role. This time around, though, a 1.16 rating. I don't remember, honestly, the last time that I saw Super as second on the scoreboard. So, hey, props off to him. Props to the entire Sonic squad. Nobody below a 1.0 in this.
I will say this. Ever since they've been playing with their full roster, which has been 2 entire series. Now, you keep that in mind, and you add in all the games that they played so far this season, which is way more with subs than the actual roster.
They've played Sonics 12, by the way. Their max has played 12.
They are top 4 in attack and defense success rate, which is outright incredible. So, I mean, you put that in you factor that into everything else. The Sonics are legitimately looking like the team that I spoke about during the draft show as my sleeper for top 4, and the stats show it.
Well, how many dream claps do the Sonics deserve after that performance?
I say that's a 3. You got to give them a 3 dream clap.
That's a 3?
You have to give them a 3 dream clap.
Good game.
That entire team, we didn't even get into easily either. That guy's been playing lights out. He deserves the 3 claps. The whole squad does.
I love that 3 clap one because it's the best one. The clap, 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 and the cheer.
Yeah.
So good. Well, anything else to say about that before we move on to Oxygen versus SSG?
Oh, no.
No. Okay, great. Oxygen versus SSG. So this one was also a 2-0, but this one was a lot closer. There was a lot more back and forth. What do you want to say about this match?
The one thing I will point out about this match is really odd that it was as close as it was. When you look at the VOD, to be quite honest, two of the players from Oxygen had a really bad time. Bio and Splash had games that were just really unfortunate, right? And the way that Oxygen were winning was just simply off of... It felt like they never had control of rounds. They clawed, scratched, and just willed it by the great play behind Vertical, Fox A, especially laxing in a lot of clutch situations. But Space Station Gaming, you had to give them credit as well. They broke that team down, and they showed people that, hey, there's ways how you can beat their roam. There's ways how you can beat this team and take away their strengths. So Rampy, Folks, and the rest of his roster on Space Station Gaming, they're looking like the world champs that we saw back in February.
Well, we do have a clip. This is going to be at the map 1 overtime, where we saw Oxygen just feeding SSG a series of 1v1s that ultimately led to their demise. So take a look.
Goes vertical as Rampy gets the kill for SSG. Biologic in default spot. He'll need to go for the plant. Can they stop him is the real question. Trying to find a comfortable angle so he can plant, but Laxing isn't even on our screens. Where is the Jackal? That's the question. Down goes that Diffuser, surrendered, an immediate push up. Laxing falls, and it's almost a flawless round so far for SSG. They'd lost Canadian, but they trade his life for Slash Hug above, and he'll be stopped on Cool Vibe stairs. It was close and scary for both teams. No doubt an exhausting matchup. But by a score of 8-7, SSG takes Coastline and takes OXG's map.
Very weird map for both teams, to be sure. Very strange. Lots of odd mistakes made by both squads. In that last round in particular, Oxygen locked up. They had a lot of options. They had a lot of choice. Ultimately, they gave SSG a series of 1v1s, and that cost them the...
So a lot of mistakes, a lot of odd mistakes, Kick said, made by both teams. So let's look first at Oxygen, and where did they go wrong?
It was a lot of minor mental mistakes. I mean, for instance, I speak a lot about Bao because I feel like Bao is starting to really turn into one of the heart and soul of this team, so to say, because of what he does, especially on defense, right? He's a new IGL and anchor. Bio, Coastline, there's a play that would not leave my mind, and it's so ridiculous, right? It's a really good round, and in that round, he pushes into Kitchen through Bosco's Toxic Babe. Bosco had no idea that Bio did that. And Bao, when he runs in the kitchen, he was kind of like a dog that finally caught that car that he's been chasing. He didn't know what the hell to do, right? So he's running around. He could have flaked Bosco. He probably could have got a 2K. He could have planted the objective because he had that too with backup. But he did nothing. He died. Luckily for him, his teammates clutched it out and they won that. But there was a lot of other rounds of just missed-droning, Canadian coming off the flank. There are things that they did that we don't usually see happen. That's why we all pretty much gave them the, okay, we get it. You had a bad game, but you better show up next time. And with the major coming up next month, they better do that.
I completely agree with you. For Oxygen, it just wasn't a good showing overall. I think you said it the best earlier, Veli, when you said Oxygen practically willed this. There was no true, oh, hey, they're just doing this really well. It just seemed like the heart of the team continued to drive on, and it was limitless in its potential till Space Station finally snuffed it out. But looking through the stats here while we're on break with the video, or a little clip there for you guys, I actually noticed something quite weird, specifically with Slash Ugg on Oxygen. He actually has one of the lowest ratings currently in the entire league, and he's second to last inside of KD. He's currently -40 right now, which is quite rough in comparison to Retro and Disrupt, who has -52, but he has a lot more plants, and that's where the troublesome thing comes in. For the most plants on Oxygen, it's not even Slash, it's Bio. So what is happening to Slash inside of these rounds where he's not able to be Slash Hug? We're so used to Slash popping off, and it's just not happening on this OXG squad right now.
The good news, I would say, for Slash's case at a minimum is he's definitely very much aware of that factor. There was a tweet from him right after the game as well where he kind of highlighted that, so I'm pretty sure he's already actively working on that issue and trying to patch those up as quickly as possible. Now again, whether he's actually going to be able to fix it will only be determined by the stats themselves, but at least he is actively working on it and is aware of it. He's not denying it or anything like that.
And one thing we will say, we don't expect Slash to get a ton of kills because when you're playing with Fox A, Laxing, and Vertical, they're going to take all the kills on the map, right? His job is the dirty job along with Bio. They do the hard work. Get a little bit of kills. Get kills that are efficient, that matter. As long as you do that, we don't care if you're negative 50 by the end of the season, okay? Just get the dub.
Well, at least Slash is aware of the issue, as you said, and he's working on it. Honestly, I don't think any dream claps are necessarily
There's no dream claps. No.
That match, no dream claps. Move on. We're moving on. Let's look at Wednesday's matches. There's so much crazy stuff that happened. So first off, lower bracket, we have TSM taking the match versus Oxygen in a 2-1, and then Tempo Storm 2-0ing Disrupt. Now, first off, looking at TSM versus Oxygen, there was a lot going on. First off, Oxygen was coming off of that really tough defeat just the 2 nights before, and then they had that really unfortunate disconnect during the match. I think the internet in the team house must have gone out. So talk to me about this match.
This match was pretty unfortunate from the first map. Oxygen, once again, mental mistakes. Not shooting a default cam that allowed Gio to come out and get a 2K front door when it was a main lobby and piano site on Consulate. That was unfortunate. The next round, they disconnect. 2 rounds, you throw away. That's really hard to come back from. The second map, close, but Oxygen still put out the win, went to a third map, and they unfortunately lost. But like we said, you know what? Bad days happen. We expect Oxygen to be better than this. So, you know what? We're not going to hold it over them too much.
Yeah, funny enough, I was actually listening to this one in the car on the drive back from the store. I usually throw the pods in real quick, start listening to it while I'm doing my stuff, and it really seemed like it was a back and forth series. Obviously, when you're listening to it and not, personally viewing it, the score lines can seem a little bit differently, especially for like stats and stuff like that. So sitting down after that series and looking through what truly happened, it was really an odd showing, and I think that's really, really weird, especially with like the default cameras and such. There was quite a few discrepancies inside of that match that I didn't think we'd be seeing.
Yeah, it might have just ended up being one of those types of games where, Oxygen plays a very loose play style, generally speaking. And unfortunately, it seems like when the going gets tough, that play style kind of loses the small amount of synchronization that does tend to happen when they're on a roll. And I think from that point forward, they just end up getting really detached from each other, picked off one by one, especially players like Laxing, obviously, who end up playing by themselves pretty often. Now, to be fair, that didn't necessarily impact his or Bio's individual performance, but when you had, some issues with some of the other guys, it all kind of compounded on top of the disconnects and everything else, and played pretty heavily into TSM's favor.
And really, when you look at it, the first 2 maps were relatively close. There was a decent amount of trading back and forth. And then in that third map is when it just felt like Oxygen's just kind of crumbled and fell apart. And like you said, they had that disconnect that we didn't want to see. So that's okay. We can move on to Disrupt versus Tempo Storm. Another crazy, very eventful matchup. So before this match, everyone was predicting Disrupt. I think the general consensus was it could go either way, but we think that Disrupt are going to come out on top. And then it was a 2-0 in the exact opposite fashion. So what happened? Why did we not see Disrupt come out on top?
Well, it was a very hard game for Disrupt overall. And I think that the main thing that we have to say, cue it, it's 3 claps for Dream. He's got to clap for himself. It's ridiculous play from this. Let me read you some stats, everyone at home. Let me read you this real quick. Not only was he +6 and +3 on his entry, but he had a cost of 82% and the oh-so-rare KPR of a 1.0. Do you know how difficult it is to get 1 kill per round and average that in Siege? It is a very difficult thing, and Dream was able to accomplish that. This man was lights out today. He was all over everyone's case. He was shooting NJR in the face in every single round. It was ridiculous. Like, NJR had no room to breathe, and that's exactly why Tempo Storm won this game.
I mean, honestly, Tempo Storm will just seem like a much more prepared team today, which is weird because it's usually been the opposite. It's usually been Tempo Storm that's come into these matches a little bit sluggish in a few departments, with like strategy being one of them. And Disrupt was, kind of the opposite of that prior to tonight. Disrupt was the team that I expected to have all the prep work done, bring a lot of really creative play style to the table in order to get the job done. But unfortunately, while we did see some creative stuff from them, it didn't really lead to a whole lot of successes ultimately when we had the opposite happening from Tempo Storm. They were constantly making plays, and it was always working out for them. They definitely brought some new life to their team in the downtime that they've had over the previous weeks, and it certainly showed, at least in tonight's match.
We actually, even speaking of creative plays, we had some plays that were a little too creative. Can I say they were so creative that they are actually not really allowed. NJR had an illegal window peek, so take a look for yourself.
15 seconds remaining. Attackers recover the bomb diffuser.
Yeah, and this is basically to explain what ended up happening here. NJR got up on the ledge, and you may have noticed that he was actually physically on the windowsill there. Yeah, again, we'll see right here. Now, just to explain it, like, you know, if you're a normal siege player, I think, how the heck did he get up there? Well, you're not supposed to be able to. It is an abuse, because what happens is when you go up on that windowsill, you actually aren't, you know, scanned. You're not detected by going outside. So that's what makes this move illegal. That's what makes it against the rule book. And this is why NJR and the rest of Disrupt were penalized for it.
And they did take that map point away and give it to the other side instead. But what I'm really wondering here is how much of an impact did this have? Did this illegal play ultimately lead to Disrupt's demise?
I would say no. I would say no. Strictly because Tempo Storm was playing so well, even up to that point. Granted, even inside of that round, if they gifted them that round, we're still at a 4-2 split. It's still definitely doable by Tempo Storm. And when it got to their defensive half, Tempo looked very, very good on their defense. They locked down a lot of the pushes from Disrupt. I don't see Disrupt winning this series with their play today at any point in time.
It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't necessarily think it was the definitive factor. I definitely think it hurt them in the long run of trying to obviously come back and win that map, but I don't think it was like the thing that sold the match for them.
Kind of a relief, because how heartbreaking would it have been if that was the reason that they didn't make it to the NA qualifiers like Tempo Storm did. But how many claps do you think Tempo Storm gets for that performance? How many dream claps, that is?
Max it out.
You gotta
dream.
Max it out. Wait,
This is a
I'm just
new
concerned.
We haven't even had a non-3 clap.
Seven.
That's what I wanted to point out.
That's 7 claps.
We're,
You add all of
Billy,
the
we're
claps.
blowing out the scale a little bit.
Build
With
a
the hype
screen.
meter
We need
is
to
too high.
rework the system for the next episode.
We absolutely need to rework the system. If 1 dream clap should already be pretty dang good, 2 is awesome, and 3 is fantastic. But so far, it's just everything's been a 10, Veli. I don't know if we can match that energy.
I'm a very excited person, so like everything is 100 to me in my life.
All right, so in the future, we're not going to ask you for the dream
You
clap
shouldn't,
ratings.
no.
I'm gonna look to the other 2, and then I just know it's always going to
I'm
be
extreme.
a 3 for you. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings overall so we can see Tempo Storm making it there to the NA qualifiers and see how all the other teams have shaken out.
Pretty interesting. Now, the top 4 is something that we've definitely expected. Space Station, TSM, Oxygen, and Dark Zero were at the top. But Dark Zero, they were the only ones that weren't able to place inside top 3. So what does that mean? They're going to battle it out against Sonics and Tempo Storm for the regional qualifier. That's going to be a banger. Do not miss that on Saturday. Mirage will also be there. Disrupting the United. You know that SpongeBob meme where Patrick's looking out the window and they're running around having fun? That's these 2 teams right here, okay?
I really hate to tell you,
what?
that's Squidward, buddy.
Oh, Squidward.
Squidward staring out the window.
I'm a boomer. You know, my brain doesn't work sometimes, Sam. I get confused, man. I'm sorry.
I love you, man.
But you got what I was saying.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, man. But also to just let you guys know, because I know a lot of you guys have been asking this question, so we'll just answer it right here for you. No, there's no relegation this phase. So don't worry, all you E United fans. You guys aren't out of it yet. That comes at the end of the year, and that's going to be continuous throughout every single season that we have. It's always going to be at the end of the year when that relegation happens.
All right, well, Veli, I believe you had some strong words for a team that we were just speaking about. So what do you think exactly about the fact that Dark Zero is not auto-qualifying for the major, that they are slumming in the qualifiers?
I don't know who this team is right now. I don't know who they are anymore. 2 seasons ago, Dark Zero, they were on top of NA, and a lot of people, especially the fact that this was an online portion of the league because coronavirus, we thought they were going to be up top next to Space Station Gaming. No, they're outside of the top 3. They're battling it out in regional qualifiers. This is something we didn't expect. But we have to look at the fact of the matter is, how did they get here? We have to ask ourselves that question. I was digging through their stats yesterday, and there was something really interesting that I was able to pull out. Dark Zero on attack. Okay, now just preface for all you that are new to Rainbow Six Siege. Attack is the harder side. Defense is the easier side. Dark Zero, they have a 56.9% success rate for attack. That is the highest in all of NA, which is ridiculous. That's also considering the fact, I'm looking up stats right now, they went 9-22 on attack in their last 2 series. So they were probably above 60%, which is just absolutely wild because second place is TSM at 52%. Now, this is where it gets funny. on defense. This is where everyone is supposed to be good. This is your bread and butter. When I get on defense and ranked, I'm like, all right, we're going to win all these rounds. They are dead last at 40.8%. How? You look at Dark Zero, they're one of the most well-prepared teams. They're talented as hell. They have the best player in NA statistically on their roster with Hyper, right? How are they falling on defense? Kick said it best when he was commentating. Wait, Sam, what is it, Sam? Say it, Sam.
Dark Zero's way too damn rigid, man. They're way too rigid on defense. They get stuck in their ways, and their ability to adapt just isn't there. Like I love that squad more than I love myself. All right, but
right
man,
now.
like when we're talking about this, Dark Zero squad, man, we need some more IGL works on that defense. That's what we need.
I like this.
I need to see them step up. I need to bleed purple out here. All right,
let's go, Dark Zero. You need to.
I need my own step up segment. I'm taking over Valley step up segment. That's what
from everybody. No, I feel like we all agree on this though. Dark Zero, they are just so unprepared for anything unorthodox that goes their way. A lot of teams say it. It's not just me. They say, you know what? If you go in a game against Dark Zero, do something they don't expect, and you will beat them 9 out of 10 times. We saw it at the USN qualifiers where they struggled. That means Stokes and Blue was casting. They're struggling now. They should not be struggling. And in this regional qualifier, with these 4 teams in here, they should win it outright. On paper, they should be the best team. If they fail, they need to seriously change their philosophy and really pick it up because Dark Zero, baby, we know you better than this, so please step it up.
All right, well, you know what? This time, we're actually going to use a dream clap system to say if we agree with Veli or not. Stokes, I think I know how you feel. Yeah.
I got the 3 clap on that. I have to. I completely agree
Sam,
with them.
by the way.
And the thing is about this, just to add just a touch more before we toss it over for the rating from Blue. The thing that's so aggravating about this squad to watch them play and not only see them be successful, but have these down times. They have so much talent on that one squad. It's stupid. It's like if we made an all-star squad and then just like was like, hey, here you go. That's practically Dark Zero. If you look at any name on here, you cannot tell me that they suck at the game because they don't.
No,
they don't. But the discrepancies between Dark Zero and a squad like SSG are huge. Look at their stats, guys. Go online, go to CGG, look at them. Dark Zero and SSG are so different on their kills. It's ridiculous. Yes. Hyper is the only one that has a true positive rating on his KD. The only other player is Mint, and he's +2. Are you kidding me?
You know what's crazy to me? It's the fact that they're so good on attack, but they suck on defense.
Rough, man.
That's like being a master at calculus, but you can't do addition. It just don't make no sense, man.
It's like super weird going back to what Veli was saying before too about the fact that this is online play. Like this is an area where I would also expect Dark Zero to just thrive in. You look at the last few Pro League seasons, they had no problem winning all their online games. It was always on LAN where they had issues transitioning from the online arena to, obviously to LANs and being able to try and play their strategies out there, but they never really had problems online. So it's just a really weird situation that they're in right now because they're just not playing and winning the matches that we kind of expect them to. I think quite a few people had Dark Zero as like their team to come out first to this because it was online and specifically for that reason. So
is that also a 3 claps for Veli from you, Blue?
Yeah, no, he's spot on, so he's gonna get 3 claps from me as well.
I love you guys.
We still haven't used under 3 claps.
We'll use them at the end. We'll give ourselves a rating. We'll say, how do you guys think you did this week? We'll be like 1 clap.
Oh, no. Do we have to? That sounds so terrible.
I have to throw this out there. While we're talking about stats on attack and defense, the best stat I've seen, which is the absolute worst, E United has a 25% win rate on attack. 25%.
It's real rough out in these streets to find some offensive rounds, man. I feel like
they have half a chance. They have half of a chance.
E United's got a better chance of going outside to look for an offensive round than actually getting one themselves.
Well, Dark Zero, you know what you need to do. Just go do it. Step up your game, like Veli said.
Please.
But that's hopefully good things are to come. Let's talk about some more good things that are to come.
Jess,
what?
You know what I like that you used to always say at the end of Step Up? He's not mad at you. He's just disappointed or upset. Yes.
It's true. I mean, or this time, have you crossed the line? Are you actually mad this time?
I'm upset. I'm disappointed.
I'm sad.
Okay.
All the above.
Where he can be both. He's
Yes. Upset,
Dark Zero
appointed.
Valley is both mad at you and he's disappointed. That's a lot of powerful emotions. But anyway, talking about future matchups. So first off, on Friday, we're going to see some more Challengers and Canada division play. We're going to see Rent Free versus The Last Dance for the U.S. Challengers Finals. And then in the Canada division, it'll be Altiora versus Nordic. And once again, they are playing for Stage 2 seeding. And then I believe we have a schedule for you to talk about the NA qualifiers on
Yes.
Saturday.
Ooh.
Are you so excited?
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. It's going to be a long day.
Awesome.
It's going to be a long, beautiful
It
day,
is.
though.
It will be a great day. We've got Dark Zero versus Mirage at 11, and then the Sonics versus Tempo Storm at 2. What are predictions for both of these?
I'm definitely going to say that Mirage beats Dark Zero. I think that everyone's going to say that, you know? And then I personally would say, oh, this is going to be rough, Veli. I don't know, man.
Who's going to take it all? Who's going to take it all? That's hard.
Do either of you have what you want to say next for the Sonics versus Tempo Storm? That is such a hard choice.
I think Sonics is winning that one personally, and I think that's like I'm gonna put a pretty confident. I think they're gonna win that one on it.
Yeah.
Simply because I think that Sonics has a really good strategy game right now, and more importantly, they have a really good capability to read into their opponents mid game and counter strat them, or at very minimum counter, like, you know, or just try to work around their opponent's strategies even at a minimum right there. And I think that capability from the Sonics is going to carry them forward to a win versus Tempo Storm, because I think when the going gets tough for Tempo Storm, we're gonna start to see issues pop up again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
Blue,
good.
I thought you was going to cut off for a second. Sonics never lost to Tempo Storm. They're not going to lose again,
Yeah.
right? They're top 4 in every statistical category against them. They're fine. I honestly think Sonics might take it all.
I think so as well. I've got a pretty strong feeling that they're going to come out strong as well. With how weak Dark Zero has looked recently,
Oh,
I think there's
man.
a very good chance for Sonics to sneak past Dark Zero.
I agree.
Well, and of course, the winners of those 2 matchups will play each other for the last spot in the major, but kind of sounds like we already know what you guys think is going to happen.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, any final thoughts from this crazy week, or any final thoughts looking forward to the NA qualifiers and the major and all that good stuff?
Yeah, no, just make sure you guys are watching. These are some
Yeah.
really good games we've been
Yeah.
having, especially our last
Oh,
one
man.
that we had on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Some really epic gunfights happening, you know, now that the going's getting tough and teams are getting closer and closer to the major, where like big money's coming out to play as well in the prize pool, hopefully. So with that being considered, I think that you should expect some really good games over the next
I would
few
completely
weeks.
agree with you, man. I think that for all of the seasons that we've had throughout competitive Rainbow Six, that the NAL is definitely a staple inside of any season we've ever had. Like, it's got to be at least top
Yes.
3, if not the best season I have ever seen played inside competitive
Best.
Siege. It is so much fun to watch.
It's the best. I have a bone to pick. I want to rant for a second,
Uh-oh.
right? So
You already
okay.
had your Step Up segment.
I know.
Is the Step Up 2
He's got another
the
one.
sequel, Electric Boogaloo?
Yes, Step Up is for the professionals and the teams. This is for the viewers. For some reason, for some stupid reason, everybody out there thinks I hate TSM with all my heart. All right. Let me say this for the uneducated out
So you
there.
hate TSM with all your heart. That's what you're saying.
No. Let me just say
That's what I'm
this.
hearing.
TSM's most explosive player has only showed up in 2 games this season, and it just happened to be the last 2 games that they've played. I didn't bet my top dollar on TSM because I didn't believe that they would return to form yet until Merc wakes up. Now that Merc is awake, you know, you might see some predictions, but I might just go against them just to spite all of you for being dumb, okay? TSM, they're amazing. I don't hate them. I love them. Merc is one of my favorite players out there. So get off my back about that, all right? I love y'all.
Yeah, oh, man.
I just had to get that off
I
my
love you,
chest. I'm
Val.
sorry.
I
That
love
was
you, man.
personal,
I love
okay?
you.
That was personal.
Yeah.
Love you too.
Thank you. I feel blessed because we got 2 Veli rants this episode, which is just so
do we,
good.
I'm too old
so
for
good.
this.
What do we
Two.
rate the second Veli rant?
That's a
Is it,
1.
Oh, 4 Dream
no,
Claps.
that's a 1.
4.
That was 4.
That's a 1?
Four?
Yeah,
All right,
actually,
I
wait,
was
hold
gonna
on.
say
Can we use the
one.
2?
Or a split
Can we use the
vote
2 clap
here.
because he did it twice?
Listen,
You know, and because we haven't yet
Use
used
the
the 2
one.
clap rating. So, they used the 1. Oh my
Yo.
gosh. This is not a democracy.
fighting
There is
the
no
producer.
majority
Yo,
rules
Belly,
here.
get dream clapped on, dude. How about that?
So good. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, that just about does it for us here. We will continue to bring you all the action, or as much of it as we can, week after week here on Inside the NAL. But hey folks, you know, it's just so much more exciting when you catch the action live. So be sure to go ahead and follow us on Twitter at R6 Esports and R6 Esports NA so that you don't miss anything. And other than that, we will see you next week.
Yes. Shout out to Dream the GOAT.